Hi, Damien. Thank you for taking the time to interview me. I want you to know that it's really my pleasure to be here, and I've been looking forward to this interview for some time. I don't really have many opportunities to speak to Europeans face to face in the videos. My experience is mostly in the Anglo-Saxon world, and it's a true and real pleasure to speak to you. This program, Majestic, is a black program. It's a unacknowledged program, meaning that it's denied. It does not exist officially. And not only doesn't it exist officially, but it's a carve-out, meaning that it's not even inside the United States government. The United States government made a program, carved it out, and put it into private businesses. They fund it through what is known as the black budget. These are line items that are associated with security and national interests. And then nobody knows what this money's for, but the money then goes to these carve-outs. And Majestic is one such carve-out. There's many such carve-outs, and I was part of it. The purpose of Majestic is very, very interesting. The purpose of Majestic is interaction of the United States with non-human entities and their governments or systems that they use to exist. Justification for this is national security, of course. It's all national security. We don't know who these people are, they argue, so we must defend against them. And this was the mindset when it was established in 1947 or so. There's all sorts of things about Majestic 12 you can read about, and there are people that say it's debunked, and there's people that say it exists, and all kinds of stuff. I don't know any about that. All I know is what I know, and I was part of it. I'm not lying. I have no need to make this up. It serves me zero benefit to lie about this. I'm telling you what happened. I'm telling you what its purpose is. And so the system was set up as the way for the United States government to interact with non-human creatures. And the justification for this is national security. And the secondary justification is to reverse engineer. That's what the United States government established back in the late 1940s and 1950s. And at that point in time, it was right after World War II. The nations of Europe were in ruins, and America was the dominant nation. The dominant nation was testing some of the captured German radar systems that they had taken during Operation Paperclip, and were running these devices in New Mexico. And these devices were causing all kinds of disruption on these extraterrestrial vehicles, these spaceships, these spacecraft, causing them to decloak, causing them to tumble out of control and crash. And the military, and of course these were scientists, immediately set about collecting this stuff. And the military then, for reasons of national security, put a lockdown on it. They established this program, and The purpose of the program is to protect national security interests, defend against the unknown, and to reverse engineer what they have captured. Turns out that once this organization was set up, the primary extraterrestrial group was what I call the Type 1 Greys. And the reason why I call them Type 1 and Greys is because they were the absolute first extraterrestrial I have ever met. So I call them Type 1. The actual terminology used by Majestic is different, so I'm not going to use that. I also call them domain, and that's because that is the term they call themselves. So you can forget all this other nonsense that you hear about on the alternative news media about this and that, and it's just reptilians and stuff like that. That's all bullshit. It's nonsense. Forget about it. Now, this is the dominant extraterrestrial that interacts with us. The reason why they're the dominant extraterrestrial group is because they own this region of space. They have owned it after a war 1,000-some years ago, and they took over. And that's another subject for another time, but I want to answer the question about what's the purpose of Majestic, okay? Well, what's the purpose of all this? Well, Majestic's purpose is national security and reverse engineering all the stuff they found. But my role, well, that's another subject. I grew up in the 1950s, 1960s, and high school, 1970s. And during that time, the media, the things we would watch on television was always filled with space and adventure. I used to watch television shows about exploring outer space and flying in rocket ships, meeting all kinds of interesting people. You probably would laugh. Many people these days laugh about that idea. They think it's silly. Why would anybody want to do such a thing? But when I grew up, it was everything. It was true for people in France as well. One of the influences in my life was this cartoon character named Tintin. I would read about how Tintin would be with this scientist who designed this rocket ship, and he would go to the moon. The rocket ship was white and red and checkered, and he had this dog, Snowy. Snowy was the name of the dog. And he would go on all kinds of adventures. And that inspired me as I grew up. The idea of flying, going to strange new areas, to meet new people, to experience adventure. These ideas, these concepts, affected me. And so I always wanted, and my greatest dream was to become an astronaut and explore the outer space. And it wasn't just an idle thought, that a phase that you go into for a while and then you jump out of it. It was real to me. So I sat down and I researched, how do you become? And here I am, I'm 14 years old? How do you become a spaceman? How do you become an adventurer? And I found that 90% of them were in the United States military. If you look at all the astronauts at that time, They were all military. So I thought, well, I'll just go over and I'll study really hard and I will get a slot in the military. I will get a pilot slot. I will learn how to fly a plane and I will be the best at the best it can be. And I will have that opportunity because there will be nobody else. You got to remember, you know, I was 14, 15 at the time, but that was my map. That was my roadmap. I followed that roadmap. Now, it was really hard because you have to understand that I did not come from privileged life. I was not a wealthy person. I lived in Western Pennsylvania. I lived in the coal mining hills of Western Pennsylvania. Just small towns, not much opportunity. And so that's what I did. I worked in the coal mines. Later on, I worked in the steel mills, but that's what I did and studied hard. And I did everything I could to go to the Air Force Academy. To enter an academy, you have to take test after test after test after test after test. And that's what I did. Each time the class size got smaller and smaller and smaller until finally there was only 2 people in the class, me and another guy. And we got to be friends because each time we'd go to take these tests, we're always there. So we're always talking and stuff. We got to be good friends. So the decision on who to go to the Air Force Academy was made by a political figure, a senator, state senator in Pennsylvania, who chose my friend, not me. But you know what? When life hits you wrong, you pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and you go to plan B. Well, I had the grades, maybe not the money, but I had the grades. So I went over and applied for colleges. I got accepted at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, as well as a few other ones. And but I could only afford to go to Syracuse. So I went to Syracuse University and studied aerospace engineering. And so I'm learning how to fly. My background is aerospace engineering. I am a rocket scientist. I do design rockets. So, and I'm learning all this. Suddenly I'm called up and the base commander takes me off and we have a nice little sit down and chat. And I sign up. And that's how I entered Majestic. Nobody told me what this program was. Nobody told me. There was no manual. Basically, he said that I will be exposed to stuff. He says it's secret, but he says you don't have to worry about that. And that's all he told me. And then they took us down and we all filled out a form. And then one by one, we got into a dispatch line, lined up, and walked into nothing. Literally, nothing. Nothing. Not a thing. We're walking in this line. We go in this big warehouse with a taped line, a ready line, and we walk down, okay? And then you walk into nothing, air, and you disappear. And that's what I could refer to as a teleportation unit. It changes the coordinates of being to another location. What was my role? What was I to do? You have to understand that we're dealing with a society that's billions of years old. Their technology is so advanced that I can't even understand it. What's going on is beyond most people's comprehension. And I was given a role to do something on something that other humans have no idea or concept of. So the first thing you have to understand is that everything you know about the universe, how it works, physics, it's wrong. It's wrong. Actually, we live in a constructed artificial universe of world lines. And time is us hopping from world line to world line. That's called a life. It's called a vector. We go from one world line to another, to another, to another. We do it at a speed of 4 world lines a second, generally, for most people. And there's an infinite number, or actually it's a near infinite number of world lines. To understand how the universe is, you have to understand it is like a movie projector. You know how each picture frame, each scene, and then you have a next, and 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 you see it moving? Each picture frame is a world line. It's a solid, non-moving, frozen item in time. And you are moving through it, and you see that as time. My role was in Majestic. I would probably be living a very, very wealthy life and a very exciting life in the States if I declined the opportunity to join Majestic. My day-to-day life was an engineer in corporate America, as a manager of engineers, then a director of engineers, and vice president of engineers, going right up the career path. That was my public face. That was the white side of me. The black side of me was the hidden side, hidden from everybody. And that is what I did for Majestic. Most of what I did, nobody could tell I was doing anything, actually. I'm just another guy, another schmuck, putting gas in the car at a gas station. Just another guy going over there getting a hamburger at a Burger King. I'm just another guy walking his dog in the park or playing with his cats. I'm just a guy. Nobody saw what's going on. But I was involved in anchoring. And that involved interaction. That was involved with a group of species that were located at a facility in the Oxypalus region, Palus, P-A-L-U-S, Oxypalus region of Mars. There's a facility there. It's just a facility. That's where they operated my interactions with. And they were the ones that helped control the world line switching and anchoring efforts. Occasionally, there would be physical contact. We have a physical body, right? We also have non-physical bodies. Like this. This is your physical body. These are your non-physical bodies. And I would have updates to these things. Occasionally, this part would be talking with other people. I've been in contact with 4 species, no more than that. So I don't know if there's more species or not. Domain is intimate with me. The other ones, I interact as need be. When I say interact, let me be very clear about this. They're like this far from me. I can see them. I can smell them. I can see the texture on the clothing, okay? It's the real thing. It's the real deal, right? Do they speak? Nobody's ever spoken to me like that. Communication is, they tell, I listen. They tell, they command, I do. It's like that. It's not really a back and forth discourse, except for the EBP, and that's another story altogether. And that's back and forth, and it's pretty fast, and it's way beyond this kind of discussion right now. So many people are afraid. So many people act afraid, but you shouldn't be afraid. Domain has no interest in harming anybody. All they care about is maintaining. They are concerned about sentience, sorting of humans, and a few other species as well, not just humans. Dolphins, elephants, horses, the sentient sort. And I know there's people that's saying any day now that we'll know the truth about extraterrestrials. I'm going to tell you, no, that's not going to happen. They're going to say, well, the United States government is going to come clean. Nope, that's not going to happen. The United States government has no knowledge or control over what's going on because, like I said, Majestic is a carve-out. It's outside of the United States government. Domain operates on this planet. They do not do so in the United States. When the Roswell event occurred, that was when the United States was the dominant power in the world. They now operate in another country, which is currently the dominant power in the world, and they're protecting it. Think about that for a while, okay? This idea that there's going to be some kind of knowledge and humans are going to embrace the cosmos. And one day we'll be able to travel to other planets and civilizations and everything. No, that's not going to happen. Nope. Actually, you're all pretty much stuck here in this environment. Hate to tell you that, that's the way it is. The way out is through your non-physical body, and that's what Domain is working on right now. There seems to be a real interest in alien abductions. The real reason why I'm accepting this interview is not for myself, but it's for those of you who are out there who are terrified of alien abductions or who have experienced things that you believe are an alien abduction. And so I want to tell you that an alien abduction is a bad term for an event that actually occurs. As I described before, we have a physical body and a non-physical body. Many of these alien abductions are really reconfiguring of your non-physical bodies that you requested. You requested that they be altered, and there's a reason behind you requesting them to be altered, and that has to do with movement on your world line template. Most alien abductions aren't abductions at all. It's software upgrades to the non-physical bodies that you inhabit. And the reason why you are so terrified for that is because there is a system in place. I'm going to really go simplified, known as reincarnation. This system of reincarnation where you physical body, non-physical body, physical body, non-physical body, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, requires that you be fearful. The moment you die and you leave your body, you must be terrified and you must go straight to heaven. You must go straight to a tunnel of light. That's it, right? If you read all these NDEs, these stories of people who had near-death experiences, they say they died and they immediately went through a tunnel of light and went into heaven. It's always A, B. There's no C, there's no D, there's no other options. I'm here to tell you that there's all sorts of other options. And the reason why you don't have those options, that those options never occur to you, is because of a fear mechanism that is part of your non-physical body. And you, who are experiencing these alien abductions, have made a contract with domain to alter your non-physical body so that you can be presented with other options other than reincarnation. Heady subject. I know you don't want to hear it. Nobody wants to hear this. It shatters so many worldviews. That's why I think it's better if I just eat some delicious cheese, drink some wine, smell some good fresh air on one of those spring days, you know? And don't really get too involved in all this craziness, because nobody wants to hear the truth. Nobody wants to hear my point of view. Nobody wants to hear what I did, because it's beyond your comprehension. That's the reason. The reason behind these alien abductions is a medical procedure to alter your non-physical body, to give you options at the point of death. Because heaven is not what you think it is. It is something totally different. Of course, I can tell you what happened at Roswell, New Mexico. It was a domain survey vehicle. There were 3 occupants, 2 of a paramilitary nature who were the crew, and 1 commander. Roswell were involved in testing a band. They were testing this radar system, and it was causing these vehicles to malfunction. Roswell was 1. It was not the first one. I forget which it was, maybe the 2nd or 3rd one, and tumbled out of control. It was recovered, terribly damaged, but there were 2 deaths. Well, 2 lifeless forms, and a 3rd form that was animated. The domain use bodies like we wear clothing. So upon the crash of the vehicle, of course, the crew ejected from their contrivances, their doll bodies, and the commander of the operation being in a different type of doll body. They had a different kind of body, okay? They were taken for interrogation, and there was a period of interrogation that occurred. Actually, the interrogation is well known in UFO circles as something known as alien interview. And yeah, it's valid, it's real. It's exactly what happened. And that's everything you need to know about that. There was a subsequent cover-up and all sorts of stuff that happened afterwards. There was all sorts of technologies recovered, or I can't say recovered, they were used as a basis for other inventions that came about. People say, well, you know, we were given extraterrestrial technology and therefore we learned things. That's not really true. Engineers reverse engineered the craft and saw technologies that they could replicate. These things included fiber optics and Velcro. It's a kind of Velcro. It's not the exact kind of Velcro that we're talking about here. Some technologies regarding batteries, materials. Most of the technologies in this craft are well beyond the technologies when they were first discovered, which is why in the 1980s under Ronald Reagan, there was a massive effort to reverse engineer these crafts. If you want to see an extract of this kind of effort, you might want to look up the Carrot disclosure to give you an idea of how domain programmed material. Cryptids and dogmen. I'm sorry, I can't help you. I have no experience on that, and I don't know if it's valid or not, or what the stories are behind it. I can only tell you what my little part of Majestic was. What I can tell you is there is no unified theory that's going to put everybody together. You're not going to be able to connect stories about reptilians and dogmen and mantids and all this into one narrative that everybody can agree on, because there's so many lies and distortions, misunderstandings by all kinds of people, whether it's for profit or malevolent purposes. In fact, Majestic had an enormously funded group solely associated with disinformation. You can tell right now with the wars and across the world, the American disinformation system just running, throwing out lies after lies after lies. Yeah, they're very good at it. Don't worry about it too much, okay? So I can't tell you if there was anything associated with military programs on that. I do know there's only one program with the United States regarding extraterrestrials. That's Majestic. That falls under the Office of Naval Intelligence. There are no other programs.